Of news coming to you live from our headquarters in Douala, Cameroon's economic capital, with me, Fon Quinter. Let's begin today's edition of Prime Flash in Tole, southwest region of Cameroon, where the population stormed the office of the divisional officer with placards to decry the presence of 4 individuals who entered Tole claiming to be chiefs. Thus said the 4 chiefs from different villages have seized their land and destroyed cocoa farms and plantations in a place they have occupied for over 40 years. At the DO's office, they were called to be calm while authorities look into the issue. Away from the southwest region, 2 persons have sustained injuries after an improvised explosive device went off in the Mokolo neighborhood in Yaoundé at about 1 p.m. Tuesday, July 12. The explosion yesterday comes 1 week after the previous one in the same area not far from the office of the firefighting unit. Security forces rushed to the scene of the incident, surrounded it while ensuring free flow of traffic. According to an eyewitness, the explosive that went off was wrapped in a plastic with nails stuck inside. To the sad one, a Cameroonian based in Dubai has died few weeks after his wedding. According to reports, Julius Tanguna, native from Bambalang, Northwest region, traveled to Cameroon last month and got married. After returning about 3 weeks ago, he complained of stomach ache and was rushed to the hospital where he died. A source says his death certificate shows he died of food poisoning. Now, a young lady in Bamenda, Northwest region of Cameroon, in her early 20s, has almost lost her life after having been brutalized by her landlord, who is forcing her to vacate his building without quit notice. Eileen Sama completes the story.
Yes.
Vera Anim is the name of the victim who was assaulted by her landlord, a man and his lawyer who accompanied him. According to the newly graduated student who has been a tenant to the said landlord in Bamenda, chief town of the Northwest region, she was firstly taken to the police for not paying her rent, where she did, and also paid an extra 3 months to avoid problems with her landlord. But unfortunately for her, that was not enough for the landlord, who stormed her home and forced her to vacate the building, beating her with 2 others, leaving her with injuries and blood oozing from her eyes and face. She narrates.
That's why with the OE rent, it take me to go police station, I pay that rent, then pay my upfront rent. Then it come down and send a receipt now. It can drive me back. They tell me, say, me and you will not pay stay again. But you already pay my 3 months, so I should not be quiet. Then now, at this morning time, yesterday been at my graduation. The morning time now, I did sleep around kind of 7 o'clock now. I hear knock on my door. I want to go open and now I see now lawyer. Lawyer tell me, say, landlord want to see me. I don't even know me, say, he town. I say, okay, I enter and see my change. Since I've been out, I wear my 19. I be half naked. I enter and my change. I want to see some push door. I want this one on the bar. I say, enter now. So another boy be there will have my lawyer to be stand. He just started to beat me, the jam me.
Nonetheless, Vera added that the landlord said he has come to murder her and has contracted some separatist fighters for 4 million francs CFA to eliminate her, with his lawyer saying nothing like justice will be meted on the landlord.
He talks say this so he can't kill me. Say don't pay 4 million for can't kill me. Say don't pay 4 million for Amber, can't kill me. Then the lawyer too talks, no, even a lawyer, they're not feeling lucky.
Vera is currently in the hospital receiving medical care while asking for justice, as she is barely a young and powerless graduate in the face of a powerful landlord. Meanwhile, the landlord is yet to give his own side of the story as investigations continue on the tenant-landlord matter in Bamenda.
Now, yesterday marked 138 years since the Germano-Douala Treaty was signed between representatives of the Jansen and Tourmaline firm and some Douala kings, notably King Dumbebel and King Agua. The decision, which was not a unanimous choice and which saw some of the local rulers lose their lands to the Germans, was protested by others in the likes of Kumambape. Joy Gong takes us down memory lane and reports on the significance of the German rule in Cameroon. Her report.
On this day 138 years ago, Cameroon was born. This was when the German-Douala Treaty was signed as Germany scrambled for territories. It mainly targeted the coastal region of Cameroon due to its strategic location. History holds that the Germano-Douala Treaty was signed along the banks of River Uri, today's economic capital of Cameroon.
The Germano-Douala Treaty was essentially a treaty establishing German protectorate over Cameroon. And even though the territory was largely going to be administered as a colony, the Germans gave the impression that they were protecting the indigenes of the territory against other invaders. The territory was annexed after a very competitive race, after a very competitive struggle, largely dominated by the British, who had established a naval base in Cameroon, who had established the Court of Equity in Douala, the Court of Justice, and with missionaries effectively present. But the British ignored or underestimated the Germans.
Contrary to popular opinion, the Germano-Douala Treaty held some reservations, not fully handing over authority of Cameroon to the Germans.
Say that the Germans tricked the chiefs was probably an overstatement. The truth is that the Germans tricked, the British and wooed the chief, convinced the chiefs who were in need of partners. And that is why the chiefs accepted to surrender their territory to the Germans. And if you look at what we call the King's Memorandum, the preliminary treaty, you realize that the chiefs were at least aware of what was happening, because there are two important reservations which they made, especially the fact that Germans were not going to involve in interior trade, and the fact that cultivated or inhabited land was going to remain in the hands of the indigenes.
This treaty, signed 138 years ago, still has its effects felt today. Historians argue that it permanently placed Cameroon under foreign domination in several sectors of the economy.
We suffer today with an export-oriented economy. It was because of the cash crop economy that the Germans established in Cameroon. And that is why we produce what we do not consume and consume what we do not produce. Emphasis was on raw materials needed back at home by the German industry. But however, the Germans gave us the shape of the territory we have today. The Germans consolidated our unity. The Germans consolidated a culture of hard work, which we have in Cameroon today.
The Germano-Douala Treaty, although one of the most popular accords, was however short-lived, as France and Britain soon joined forces and overthrew German colonial rule in Cameroon after the First World War in 1919.
Now, the presidential plan for the reconstruction and development of the northwest and southwest regions of Cameroon has been assessed. The steering committee of the plan met last Friday in Yaoundé for the fourth time. It was emerged during the meeting that a lot has been done in the domains of infrastructure, revitalization of the local economy, amongst others. Lasha Kingsley tells us more.
Meeting in its fourth session this Friday in Yaoundé, the steering committee of the presidential plan for the reconstruction and development of the northwest and southwest regions has reviewed strides made since the implementation of the program 18 months after. It emerged during the meeting that a lot has already been done in the two war-ravaged regions in the rehabilitation of essential infrastructure, promotion of social cohesion, finance mobilization and revitalization of the economy.
At the level of the presidential plan for the reconstruction and development of the two regions, our mandate is essentially that of restoring human dignity, that of ensuring that social life, and particularly the economy of the two regions, return or be able to return to the pre-crisis situation. So from that angle, from that perspective, we particularly lay emphasis on what we do by tracking the behavior of the economy of the two regions on the backdrop, of course, of the national economy, and at the same time looking at how social life is faring in the two regions because of the crisis. We try to look at all of these dynamics on the backdrop of what is happening on the ground. How much is the crisis affecting social life? How much is the crisis affecting the economy? That is our biggest challenge. Of course, all of this, this socio-economic way of looking at it also enables us to be able to capture the overall impact of the implementation of the plan on the field. Because the implementation of the plan will only be as important as it has an immediate impact on the economy and on social life.
According to the representative of the United Nations Development Programme, UNDP, huge progress has been made, such as access to education, health, just to name but these few.
We have reported on the 3 pillars: the pillar of revitalizing the local economy, the pillar of basic services, and the pillar of social cohesion. What I can tell you is that we have achieved a proof of concept of this program. We have very encouraging results, and that are showing that we are assisting the people to recover. And we are by doing that, we are making sure that those that can get back to their feet will not depend on humanitarian assistance, but will be able to conduct their own economic activities and also access basic services. That is the main aim of this program. I'm happy to report that we have now endorsed the plan for the next year.
Holding at the auditorium of the Prime Minister's office and chaired by the Director of Civil Cabinet, Balungeli Confiance Ebune, the session was attended by the regional governors, presidents of the regional assemblies of the 2 regions, amongst other state dignitaries, and those of the United Nations Development Programme, UNDP.
The news out of Cameroon, former Rwandan Prefect Laurent Busia Baruta has been sentenced to 20 years in prison for complicity in genocide. The verdict comes more than 28 years after the Tutsi genocide of 1994, when he was head of the Gikangoro Prefecture in western Rwanda. After nearly 11 hours of deliberation at the Court of Assize in Paris, the 78-year-old was acquitted as a perpetrator of genocide. He was found guilty as an accomplice to genocide and crimes against humanity and 4 massacres. Now, officials in Ivory Coast have called on Mali to immediately release 49 of its soldiers who were arrested Sunday at the international airport in Bamako, refuting accusations they are mercenaries. The Ivory Coast government said the soldiers were registered in the workforce of the Ivorian army and were in Mali as part of a UN peacekeeping mission. Earlier, Malian government spokesman had accused the soldiers of being illegally in the National Authority of Mali in possession of weapons and ammunition of war without a mission order or authorization. And in sports, Egypt is hosting the 25th African Nations Cup for men's handball that kick-started on the 11th and will run through the 19th of July 2022 at the Hassan Mustafa Complex and in October International Halls. Emanuela Moni comes back on some of the matches already played and those yet to be played. Her report.
Defending champions, Egypt got their defense of the African Men's Handball Championship underway in style with a dominant win over Cameroon at the Hassan Mustafa Sports Hall. The host nation recorded a 40-17 victory over their opponents in 6th of October, a city in Giza Governorate. Tunisia, Egypt's main threat, got their tournament off to a winning start with a 30-18 triumph against Group C opponents Nigeria. In Group D, Angola stomped a thumping win versus Zambia. Tunisia started strong in Group C thanks to a 30-18 win over Nigeria. They crushed their challengers 53-24, placing them top of the group with a far superior goal difference. The other match in the group saw the Democratic Republic of Congo beat Senegal 31-26. 6 more matches are scheduled to take place today, including Cameroon playing Morocco. In Group B, Guinea recorded a 35-22 win over Gabon. A loss for Cameroon will see the country exit the competition in the opening round. This will be the 6th time Egypt hosts the competition after the tournaments organized in 1983, 1991, 2000, 2004 and 2016. The last 4 editions that took place in Egypt saw the host qualify for the final, winning it 3 times and conceding a loss in the other game.
That report concludes today's edition of Prime Flash on My Media Prime Television. Coming up just after Prime Flash is the brief with Lasha Kingsley and Gladys Bamotongina. Today's edition of Prime Flash was produced by Junior Pelama. My name is Fon Quinter. Have a blessed day and a company of more programs on the African Eye. Goodbye.
Amen.
Amen.
So listen to this